So today we have 11 companies presenting. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first. We are pleased to welcome back Rick Schumacher, the founder, president, and CEO of Pressure BioSciences, Inc. Pressure BioSciences, Inc. It trades on the OTCQB under the ticker PBIO. So when Rick presented at Emerging Growth just 4 weeks ago, he gave an overview of the business and technology of Pressure BioSciences. And those who attended may recall Rick telling us that the first quarter of 2021 was significantly better than the first quarter of 2020, that the second quarter of 2021 had started out equally as strong, and that PBIO had made terrific progress in all three of their unique pressure technology platforms, and how optimistic he was about the future of PBIO. So 4 weeks ago today, PBIO was trading less than 10,000 shares per day at a price under $2. Today, it's trading over 125,000 shares per day at a price worth $3. I guess he had reason to be optimistic. So Rick is here today to discuss two important press releases that PBIO sent out over the past 2 weeks. Let's hope his optimism remains strong. So everyone, please welcome President and CEO Rick Schumacher. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate the nice introduction.
Well, we're excited to hear all of your updates. The floor is yours.
Well, you know, one of my favorite songs goes back to the 70s. It was by the Carpenters. It was We've Only Just Begun. So we're adopting that song. We think we've only just begun. So we're very excited about what's happened lately. We're very excited about what we think is going to happen in the future. So again, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Before I begin, I need to mention that what I am about to say could be considered forward-looking statements, so everyone should do their due diligence before thinking about investing in Pressure Bio or any company that's publicly traded that they hear about today. I'm not going to go through a very long slide presentation. I'm really on here to talk about the press releases that have happened over the last several weeks, including one that went out today. I will do a brief overview. But if somebody would like to get more in depth about Pressure BioSciences, please go to Emerging Growth, to your website here at Emerging Growth, and you can find our presentation that, as Anna said, was made about four weeks ago today. So as a brief overview, we're publicly traded on the OTCQB. Our symbol is PBIO. We have three very interesting and we think amazing technology platforms. They all are related to the use of high pressure. We've been able to harness high pressure. Pressure can do many of the things in the laboratory that we use heat and cold and chemicals to do, except pressure moves at the speed of sound. It's basically instantaneous. We can turn it on and off like we turn a light on and off with a light switch. So once it's on, everything in that solution that we're working with is under the same pressure. And then once we turn it off, everything is back to what we call ambient or normal pressure. Some days, of course, the pressure is higher than others, but we're back to ambient pressure. So our three technology platforms, excuse me, are called pressure cycling technology, Barrel technology, and ultra shear technology. Very briefly, pressure cycling technology platform is as it says. We cycle, we turn pressure on and off. We found that by putting pressure on biological samples, biological properties can change. We can bust open cells, whether they be human, animal, plant, whether they're normal or cancer, whether they be bacteria, virus, or some other microorganism. We can use pressure to basically like squeeze them until they break. And it's a very careful, very methodical process. We have about 225 customers all over the world that have switched to using pressure for a number of things, including preparing their samples for analysis. When you want to get into a virus, into a cancer cell, into a normal cell, to get out that RNA, DNA, protein, those lipids to study, to try to develop the next best diagnostic, the next drug, you have to be very careful on how you prepare the sample. And we do it by slightly squeezing it at various pressures. Once you know the pressure you need to break open a certain type of sample, a certain type of cell, you dial it into the computer, you break it open the same way every time. You get rid of the chance of having some changes that occur because of using other methods. When I was at Harvard Medical School about 100 years ago, as a scientist, I was taught to beat the living heck out of a sample to break it open. That's not what we do now. We very carefully break it open so you don't modify or change those wonderful wonderful products that are inside that cell. As I said, DNA, RNA, protein, and lipids. Barifold technology is using pressure to help fix issues that come when you're developing a therapeutic from a protein in the lab. So about 22% of all therapeutics that are out today are based on proteins. And when you make them in the lab, they're made in very large manufacturing vats. And some things can go wrong. The proteins can stick or aggregate. The proteins can be what we call misfolded. They're not in the exact structure they're supposed to be. Pressure can sometimes fix that. We own the patents. We have 8 patents in the area of fixing those problems, fixing the problem so that the protein retakes its shape that it's supposed to be, so then it has the activity that it's supposed to have. I should mention we have 15 patents in pressure cycling technology. The third area, and the area that we'll talk about today, is ultra shear technology. We look to release our first instrument that allows for ultra shear technology to happen in a laboratory. We hope by the end of this year. We have 6 issued patents. It has a wonderful broad range of applications, and we've had 2 press releases recently about it that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. So the number of applications, the number of fields that ultra shear can be used in is multiple. We basically are combining very high pressure with shearing, with intense shearing forces or cutting forces. And the main purpose of this right now is to make oil go into water. Oil doesn't go into water, we're told. Well, with about 40% of all new drugs being oil-based, with so many vitamins and supplements being oil-based, we need to make that oil water-soluble because the active ingredient inside the oil needs to be able to be absorbed out into the body, whether that body is the body of a plant, an animal, a human. We have so many oil-based products that we're ingesting or that we're rubbing on topically that we need to find a way to make those oil-based products more water-soluble. And ultra shear does that, and we'll see about that in just a few minutes. So we talked about ultra shear, very high pressure, very intense forces. The 6 patents that we have a number of groups around the world that have contacted us about this. The 2 recent press releases from the week before last and last week were about the ultra shear technology platform. And we're working very hard to get this platform released to the market by the end of this year. We have a partner in Ohio State University, fantastic university. They have a College of Food and Agriculture, which is one of the tops in the country. Some people would say tops in the world. And Dr. Bala, who is a full professor and is our collaborator, has an entire team that's working with us. And we have announced just about 2 months ago the formation of a consortium in the food industry, food and beverage industry, where ultra shear technology, we think, has a wonderful place in the future to enable food to be safer, to have it a longer shelf life, to have food that's more flavorful, more nutritious, all by using ultra shear technology in the processing. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So when we talk about oil and water, we talk about things that don't mix. Emulsions are when you take 2 or more liquids that don't really mix. They're not meant to mix. So salad dressing, your vinaigrette salad dressing is an emulsion. Milk is an emulsion. If you let it sit out for a period of time, it'll separate out. Paint, we buy paint in the hardware store, and we let it sit for a week and we go out to use it, we find that it's separated out, the oil-based paint. So emulsions are where we're putting 2 or more liquids together, and we're trying to mix them together and keep them together. And it's very difficult. We use chemicals called emulsifiers that help to keep the oil in the water or the water in the oil mixed and not separating out. But oftentimes it does. So if you have vitamins and supplements and antioxidants, if you have therapeutics and they're all oil-based, you don't want these separating out of the material. You want them to be soluble. You want them to be essentially water soluble so that they can go throughout the body, so that the body is able to absorb out of that the active ingredient inside the oil droplets. You can see on the screen that when we put oil in water or water in oil, that it doesn't mix very well. And as I said, the best example is vinaigrette. You take the vinaigrette, the first thing you see is within 5 seconds, it settles out. You mix it really hard to put it on your salad. On the right of the screen, you can see a number of things: creams, ointments, therapeutics, drugs. So many things are oil-based. A big example right now is CBD. A lot of us have been following the CBD story. CBD it comes from the cannabis plant or from the hemp plant, and it comes out in an oil. And when you ingest CBD oil, your body is trying to get rid of the oil because we're water-based and we don't want oil, so we're trying to excrete the oil out of our system. But at the same time, you want the body to absorb out of that oil drop or droplets all of the active ingredient. In this case, it might be CBD. So it's a battle in the body of excreting out the oil, but trying to absorb out. If we can make that oil water soluble, then the body has a much better chance. If we can make that oil so that those oil drops become tiny little nano-sized oil droplets, all containing the active ingredient, we have a much better chance of absorbing out that active ingredient before we excrete the oil from our body. So there's a huge amount of oil-based products that if they became more water soluble, would be much better as drugs, as therapeutics, and other products. So here's a picture of oil in water. You can see on the left side, it says 200 nm, that's nanometers. So this is something that we've mixed oil and water, we've shaken it up. If we let that sit in the next few minutes or hours, it'll settle out. The oil in the water will settle out. That same, that same solution is on the right side. And it's the exact same solution that we put through our ultra shear technology process. And what we essentially done is we've broken the oil from oil drops down into millions and millions of tiny little oil droplets. Each of those oil droplets still contain the active ingredient, whatever it might be. Maybe it's CBD, maybe it's a special therapeutic, maybe it's something for the body, for the skin, but it's inside the oil. We've broken it down so small that it's actually smaller than bacteria. It's smaller than the wavelength of light. So light goes right through it. So you have a wonderful, high-quality nanoemulsion when you see the clearness, the clarity of what you see on the right side. So this, by taking it from the left, which you call a micro or macro emulsion, over to the right, a nanoemulsion, nano-size particles of oil containing the active ingredient, we're able to make it much more water soluble. Therefore, it becomes much more bioavailable. If it contains a compound, a therapeutic, it becomes much more available, therefore bioavailable to the body. It's much more stable. We know nanoemulsions are the way to go when we're mixing oil-based products with water. So we had 2 press releases recently. The first one was on July 1st. On July 1st, which was about a week after I spoke, we had a press release about astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is generally considered to be one of the most potent antioxidants on the face of the earth. It's an amazing compound. It's the red compound that's in krill, that the krill are then eaten by fish like salmon, and it turns their flesh pinkish. It makes it look very healthy, which it is very healthy. So astaxanthin is this antioxidant that is so much more potent than, as you see in the screen, vitamin C, coenzyme Q, vitamin E, and many other things. So the problem is astaxanthin comes out in an oil. So if you take astaxanthin oil and you and you place it inside a beverage or inside a food, you're ingesting that oil, and your body's going to try to get rid of the oil. And it's not going to absorb very much of that astaxanthin. You'd be lucky if your body absorbs 10 to 20%, maybe 30% of that astaxanthin inside the oil. But if we break that oil drop down, those drops down to nano-sized and that nano-sized droplets, the astaxanthin isn't adversely affected. It's now spread among millions and millions of tiny little oil droplets. The body has a very good chance to get in and break them open and absorb out the astaxanthin molecule, and it becomes much more bioavailable. So we had 5 calls in the 3 weeks since we've published this press release from astaxanthin companies throughout the world who want to know more, some of which have gotten on calls with us, technical calls with us, so we could go through the technical background and why we think ultra shear is the way to go for them in the future as they make their astaxanthin products. So we're very excited about this because we believe it's going to have a longer shelf life. It's going to be more absorbent. Therefore, it's going to be more bioavailable. The manufacturer can use less because you can get more out of less. So it saves money for the manufacturer, and that we as humans or our animals, our pets, have to ingest less also. And therefore, we should be able to save money. So it's good for everyone. It's from the manufacturer to the customer. And of course, the product we think is much better quality when it is turned into a nano emulsion. The market for astaxanthin, by the way, is estimated to be over $1 billion. It is a amazing compound that a lot of people have been turning to, particularly in the last several years. Here's a picture of astaxanthin under a microscope. When you look at it on the left, you can see that reddish color. If we let it sit, the astaxanthin oil, containing oil, it's going to separate out, and you can see the water and the oil will separate into two different phases. When we take that same sample of astaxanthin oil and we put it through our instrument and we make a nanoemulsion, basically we break down the oil to much smaller particles. We are able to then look at it, and you can see it's now basically clear, it's transparent, it's translucent, and we know that we have made it into a nanoemulsion, so it's going to be much more absorbable and much more stable as a product. The second press release we had out was on July 13th, talked about CBD. We were very, very excited about this one. Our goal was to, we've been called for several years by a number of manufacturers who want to know how can we help them get CBD in their liquid, the beverage. It might be juice, it might be water, it might be wine, because it sheds, it precipitates out. It's not that stable because it is a emulsion. It needs to be made into a nanoemulsion, a very, very high quality nanoemulsion. So we made a nanoemulsion of CBD oil over almost 15 months ago. And we put it in stability both in the refrigerator and on the lab bench. And we left it there. And we were trying to get to 6 months stability. We're over 14 months of very rock solid stability. The material we have now looks the same as the material and tests the same as the material over 14 months ago. It's bottled over 14 months ago. So we're very excited about this because this is a serious problem. There's so many CBD products that are coming on the market. But if that CBD oil is not turned into a nanoemulsion, then the body is going to absorb very little. In fact, WHO published a report several years ago, said less than 6% of CBD from CBD oil is actually ingested when it's not turned into a nanoemulsion. So we now have a product that a method that can make a product much more stable. It can make it much more cheaply because, again, when you're absorbing it out better, you can give less. So the manufacturers can use less. We, our pets, we humans and pets and other animals can use less. The cost should go down. Everybody should make more money or pay less for it, for a product that is better, more absorbed, more bioavailable, and has a much longer stability. The market for CBD, as you see on the screen, is estimated to be about $13 billion and growing quite rapidly. So here's a picture of so-called water-soluble. We bought 5 or 6 different water-soluble CBD solutions from the internet. This is one of them. They all did the same. We added it in, and it just turned everything cloudy. It didn't become, when you put it into a large amount of water, it just precipitated out. On the bottom, we took that same material and we processed it using ultra shear. And when we pipetted it into water, it disappeared because it's a nano emulsion. It's very small. It becomes essentially water soluble. So we've talked about short-term growth drivers, our PCT platform, our Barrefold platform, and our UST platform. And what I said 4 weeks ago was that, as you can see on the third bullet under UST platform, we were going to target the pharma and the biotech industry for their products. And just from those 2 press releases, we've had multiple calls from CBD companies and from astaxanthin companies and from companies that are making other supplements, vitamins, that want to know about ultra shear. We had a press release today. We've talked a little bit in the past about a potential acquisition that we're going to be making, we think, within a matter of days or weeks. This is a agrochemical. It's the acquisition of their assets. They had a very good customer base and a very good product line of products. And we've been negotiating with them, and we're looking forward to pulling them into the Pressure BioSciences family very quickly. From now, we had a press release today. We announced that we formed a new company called PBI Agrochem. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of Pressure BioSciences. This is going to house the assets that we're buying from the eco-friendly agrochem company that we're purchasing shortly. And we went so far as to give a purchase order for over $500,000 in the past few days to purchase material that will be turned into eco-friendly agrochemical products, herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers that are organic, made from natural sources. We feel very strongly that we need to get away as a country and a world, get away from the traditional chemical-based and synthetic-based fertilizers and pesticides that we've been using for hundreds of years. And so the eco-friendly, environmentally responsible products is the way to go. And also many of these are oil-based, so that not only are we acquiring a good line of products that already exist with customers that we will resurrect and service, but 40 or 50% of these products are oil-based, and our UltraShear technology can make a good product even better. So we're very excited about this, and we've purchased material that will be turned into product, and we believe that this product will have an effect as soon as in our third quarter of this year, which we're in now. So I'm done with the presentation. I have 7 minutes left. Everyone should write this down. This is a record for Rick Schumacher to make a presentation and have time for questions. Anna, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you for this, Rick. So you did announce this morning a major business expansion, establishing eco-friendly agrochemical subsidiary that will drive accretive revenue for 2021. So you stated you purchased $500,000 of materials. Will this purchase and new business division add revenue this year, 2021, and possibly in the third quarter?
Yes. The answer is yes. We have a wonderful product line that we're acquiring. That some of it doesn't need any help. Some of it a good product can become even better. We decided that we wanted to get moving on this, so we formed PBI Agrochem. It is a mass-based company, a wholly owned subsidiary of Pressure BioSciences. We funded it. It purchased over $500,000 of material that is coming in, and that material is going to be processed into this eco-friendly products that we already have customers for. So the answer is yes. We're very excited that we wouldn't have taken the step, Anna. I think many people who know this company know that $500,000 is a lot of money it's a lot of money for anybody, but it's certainly a lot of money for Pressure Bio. But we took the step because we feel very strongly that we have the customers waiting for the product. So the product will come in, it'll be processed, it'll be released. And we believe that all of that can be done before the end of September. So it would be included in our third quarter financials.
Fantastic. Can you talk a little bit more about mentioning the uplisting to NASDAQ?
Yes, in the press release, we wanted to give an update. We've talked in the past to shareholders and stakeholders about uplisting. This is a company, Pressure BioSciences is an absolute wonderful company to go on either NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange. We need a listed exchange like that. As you know, I've started and run 3 prior companies that were all NASDAQ. And we know how we run Pressure BioSciences as if it were a NASDAQ company. We do all the things that we should do if we were a NASDAQ company, because it is our absolute goal to move back to NASDAQ for Pressure BioSciences as soon as possible. So we're doing some cleanup now. We're cleaning up our balance sheet. We're acquiring the assets of this eco-friendly agriculture company. But it's this company has to be on a listed exchange. We know that. We're a very technical company with fantastic products, a wonderful future, and the way to get the word out is to be on a listed exchange. So yes, we're working very hard towards that, and it's possible it could happen by the end of the year. If not, we hope that it would happen in the first quarter of next year.
Rick, can you talk about your current debt and how you're reducing it?
You mean personally or for the company? No, I get it. So, Anna, we have a lot of debt that we took on. We've reduced that debt over the last year and a half by about 60%, 70%. This debt was taken at a time when it was very difficult, I'd say even impossible, to raise equity financing, to have money coming in through equity. So we took the next best thing, which was debt. Unfortunately, for a small company like us, it was very expensive debt. But that is the debt that allowed us to move the company to where it is. That's the debt that took us from 15 to 29 patents. That's the debt that took UltraShear technology from a blueprint and an idea 4 years ago to a product that's going to revolutionize the world of emulsions once we get it out into the market, which will be at the end of this year or early next year. So it's expensive debt. But at this point in time, to get on NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, we need to get rid of the debt to clean up our balance sheet, to clean up our financials. So we've gotten rid of about 60%. There have been two large debtors that have converted their debt into stock. Our shareholders see this because they saw the 13 Gs that were filed. Those 13 Gs were filed, and it's a wonderful thing, really, because we've taken debt that we're financing, very expensive debt, and we've turned it into stock. And this stock was converted at $2.50 a share, which means that we converted it at a price that was no less than any price we've ever sold before. The debt is off the books. We're not servicing anymore. And these are lenders who converted even their principal. So we know they're going to do the right thing. They're going to sell into the market, but we think they're going to sell in the market carefully because they didn't just convert their profit. They converted their entire loan to us, including the principal that they had, into debt. So we're excited about that. And we're trying to clean up the rest of the debt and be debt free at about the same time that we start applying to go onto a listed exchange.
Rick, we have a question. If you're hiring.
We are. That's an interesting question. We are hiring. I guess we haven't really made it public, so to speak, but we've lost a number of people in the last 2 years. The company's lost 10 people. We've only replaced one. And these were not extraneous jobs. These are very important jobs. So the current staff is working overtime. They're working many more than 8 hours a day. They're working 6 or 7 days a week. And we're now getting into a position where we need to not only replace the 9 people that left in the last year and a half that we didn't replace until now, but we have, this company's growing. It's going to be the discussions we're having, the phone calls we're getting from companies that are selling astaxanthin and selling CBD and selling so many other products, pharmaceutical, biotech, cosmetic companies, nutraceutical companies are calling us, and we need to take action while that iron is hot. So yes, I think everyone's going to be seeing, and maybe already seeing as of last week, ads that we're in that we are hiring.
Good to know. We do have more questions for you, but we're going to send them directly to you because we're out of time. But thank you so much for joining us again and giving us such important updates. Congratulations.
Well, thanks. And I hope I can be back in another month with even better news. We'll see.
We look forward to that, Rick. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Remember, as we transition to the next presenter, you're going to see a black screen, but stay with us. We're coming right back.